So, I live in Eastern Oregon, and my mom lives in Western Oregon. I went to visit her for the summer, and she is very outdoorsy, so we decided to take a 1 hour drive from her city to the coast. We ended up at this free camping site at the top of the hill, and we were there as the only campers. We relaxed for the rest of the day, made food and other stuff. A truck full of men drove up the hill and talked to my mom. I don't know what they were talking about, but it seemed suspicious at the time, and they left us. Fast forward to the middle of the night. I wake up to my mom sitting straight up in the tent. I wake easily, so I had her grasp and it woke me. As soon as she saw I was awake, she put her hand over my mouth because I was starting to ask her what was wrong. It was dead silent, and all of a sudden you hear footsteps right beside the tent. The little flap that covers that zipper was moving. Thankfully, my mom has quick wits and said very loudly, "Kenny, drop the gun. Kenny is my dad, although that doesn't matter, and mind you, he wasn't there at all. Just us girls, like I said." They left, no harm was done. Thank the Lord for my mom. When I was in high school, I had a lot of these experiences. At the house my dad lived in at the time, it was really old, built in the early 1800s. There were plenty of times I'll be sitting in the living room and hear the cabinets opening and closing in the kitchen. It was just me and my dad that lived in the house, and you could clearly see when his bedroom was shut and he was asleep, and you would hear it. Normally my dad worked 7 to 3, but occasionally worked a PM overnight. One night he was working until 11, and I was 17 at the time. Around 8 or so, I'm sitting in my room playing Borderlands, and I think I hear footsteps coming from the living room, which was adjacent to the bedroom, and assume my dad's home early, going back to playing Borderlands. I keep hearing the steps, so I pause the game and listen. The footsteps are just slowly pacing back and forth between the living room and the kitchen in a steady rhythm. I laid in bed scared shitless and actually counted the steps. Every time it took 15 passes to the living room, 15 back to the kitchen, and so on. Needless to say, I did not sleep that night. Had another situation at my mom's house about 2 years prior to this. Out of nowhere, my alarm clock would go off on midnight every night. I assumed it was busted and got rid of it. 2 years later, my mom gets another brand new clock of the same type. She was 17 at the time. Suddenly, the alarm goes off at midnight. I thought nothing of it, turned it off. It happened again the next night, and then my sister pointed out the old one I had. So I checked and made sure no alarms were set, and I double checked again. Sure enough, 4 minutes later, my alarm goes off. Freaked out. I threw it out. That night was my dad's night to have me. I had a buddy of mine over, and my dad was working that night. He left for work around 2 p.m. and my friend had brought over an iPod dock to listen to music. He didn't have the clock set or anything. My friend knew nothing of the last couple of nights, so I knew he wasn't just messing with me. So about 2 minutes after my dad left, we hear an alarm clock coming from my room. I went in, and you know how if you just plug in an alarm clock without setting it, the numbers just blink on and off? Well, it was doing that. As soon as I picked it up, the clock set itself to 12 p.m. and then just turned off by itself. Damn.